love now and
Did you fall in love last night?
I love her.
Love was stronger than anything you can
For the love.
love.
And I love you more than anything.
There's still love.
From the New York Times, I'm Anna Martin. This is Modern Love. And it's here. We're in the thick of holiday season. This week it's Thanksgiving, then the winter holidays, then New Year's. It's wonderful. But I think we can be honest, it's also a lot. I'm talking the big family dinners with cousins who you love, but who have very different politics than you. Those awkward questions about your love life from that one prying aunt. Your new partner who you're bringing home and you're worried they won't get along with your siblings. The holidays are stressful because they drop us right in the middle of all of these complicated relationship dynamics. That's why we asked if you could use any advice for this time of year. And today we have Nedra Glover Tawwab on the show. Nedra's a therapist. She's also an author. She's written several books, including one called Drama Free, all about how to have better relationships with your family. And she's here to answer your questions so you're a little more prepared for the holiday season. Nedra Glover Tawwab, welcome to Modern Love.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Nedra, this is our Thanksgiving episode. You are a therapist. Is Thanksgiving a very busy time for you? Do you get a lot of business, as it were, during the holiday season?
Well, believe it or not, we have so many people calling our practice on Black Friday. We're not open, but we have so many voicemails and emails because people have had terrible experiences and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to talk to someone.
So interesting.
Yeah. And for people who are just starting therapy, that is the day. Not only are people shopping, they're shopping for new therapists. So they are... They are looking for many things on Black Friday. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think it's like that's the moment where they're like, I actually need a therapist right now?
Yeah, because year after year, they've endured like these intolerable or difficult or problematic experiences. And guess what? Another holiday is coming up, Christmas. And so this is the time where it's like, I have to get a handle on this thing because I almost broke yesterday. And some of them did break.
Aww.
So Black Friday, it's like, okay, I've had my moment. I need help. I cannot do it on my own.
Next year needs to be different. You know, I'm thinking about your Monday after Thanksgiving. It must be incredibly intense for you. Do you ever wish you could like be a fly on the wall at one of your clients' Thanksgivings just to see what's happening?
Absolutely. I wish I could just like go home in their pockets or there was some way for me to like be on FaceTime. Like, no, tell her this, right? It's like, yeah, I wish I could, be a fly on a wall, but some of my clients I've been seeing for so long, I'm able to say like, how was cousin Renee this year? It's like.
Oh, that must be so nice for them to have that level of familiarity.
Yeah. And they're like, oh my gosh, you remember? Oh, yes, I do. Oh, after what she did last year, how could I forget? It's like,
oh my God, I love that, cousin Renee. I mean, it strikes me that, holidays are, at least I would say in my experience, kind of like this pressure cooker of emotion. Certainly some beautiful, connected moments, but also it can be a lot. It's like, you work through family issues, history, whatever in therapy, and that's from a distance, often. And then you come back for the holidays and you're just right in the middle of all of these dynamics again. I feel like this hopefully isn't unique, but when I go home to my family home for Thanksgiving, I feel like I cross the threshold and I just regress to sort of 11, 12, you know what I mean? And that age, Anna, was not fun to be around. Why does that sort of regression happen in your experience?
Well, it's interesting because you mentioned going to therapy, and it's one thing to learn the tools, to have the resources, and it's a whole nother thing to practice, right? And when we go home with our families, it's like, this is the time to practice the stuff that you've been learning. Without that practice piece, have you really learned anything? And so when you get back into that mode of, oh my gosh, I'm 12 again, that's when you need to pull out your little therapy journal or you pull up your notes app and practice some of that stuff you've been working through. The regression happens because we are in a pattern, right? Like we go around, our parents, our siblings, and we are used to being in a certain role. And it's very hard, not just for us to get out of it, for the people around us to accept that we are no longer this 12-year-old that they need to boss around or this 12-year-old that needs to like do these things that you've done in previous years. So it's really up to you to say, I am going to be different this year. And maybe it's not completely different. Maybe it's just agreeing to, I'm going to change one thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to change two things. Maybe not three, but just like one or two things. Don't overwhelm yourself. But I can do this thing a little bit differently. And maybe your thing is, everybody's talking to me. Maybe you're the person, I know I am, everybody's talking to you about their problems. Well, you might want to interject with your own problems this year.
I will say that's not my role in my family.
Well, guess what I have going on?
I mean, I'm wondering, my thing was I was a very sullen teenager. I just was like angry and annoyed, and I picked fights. And I really don't feel that way anymore now as a 31-year-old. But what I mean by regression is I'll go home and I'll just have such a short fuse again. And so I wonder, like, what is a kind of small way that I could try to correct that, do you think?
Yeah, I would say, maybe notice when you feel your energy shifting and have a little talk with yourself. Like, what happened there, girl? Like, is there an opportunity for you to do something? Yeah, girl. What can I do? So having that chat with yourself, maybe you write that down. Maybe it's in the bathroom. Maybe it's just in your head. But noticing your behavior sort of reverting and agreeing with yourself, like, I have to do something different.
Yeah.
I know that I'm going back to little me, and I don't want to do that. I'm 31 now. I don't have to do that anymore.
I'm curious, we're talking about me, but I want to turn it to you. Have you ever had a family holiday that you were anxious for or needed to prepare yourself for because it was going to be difficult or just a lot in some way?
Yeah, I think when blending families, you never know how it's going to go. So if you're having, when I've had like family with or holidays with my family and in-laws, it's like, I hope everybody gets along, trying to control how other people engage creates a lot of anxiety. Like if I have a friend over, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm inviting my friend to this family experience. Will they be able to,
I feel that's so
sort of
hard,
go with the flow? Yeah.
How did you say it? Wanting to manage how other people interact? I mean, yes, I feel this. It's the sort of classic host anxiety. How do you address that within yourself when you're like, oh my gosh, I hope my friend and my mother-in-law or my mom and my mother-in-law, how do you quiet that? What do you tell yourself?
Yeah, I have come to be okay with people having the awkward pause. I do try to. It's like, oh, nobody's talking. Is that a problem? Are they resting? Do I go do conversation starters?
Yes. Like, this is my whole
should
life.
I bring out the karaoke machine? Like, what's going on?
You're like a jester, like, da-da-da-da-da. Totally, yeah. I get
like,
that.
let me entertain them. So, sometimes I'll play music or sometimes I'll turn something on TV. But at the end of it all, it's like, these are not interactions I need to control. There are times where people want to talk and times where they don't want to talk and they feel okay. My assumption has been like, oh my gosh, they're bored. They need to do something. And that assumption is not always correct because even when I'm socializing with people, sometimes I'm thinking like, whew, we've been talking a really long time. I'd love to just listen to the music. Like, why do I think they need like this magic show going?
That is so true. I mean, and now this is just turning into me, sort of asking for personal advice. I promise we'll get to the amazing listener questions, but sort of in this realm, I find it very difficult at a big family gathering, Thanksgiving dinner, whatever, to end a one-on-one conversation. You know what I mean? It's like you've sort of run your course with a conversation with a loved one. And then I always panic. I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom or like, I'm gonna get a drink. And that just, first of all, that's not always true. I don't need to go to the bathroom or get a drink. Like, how can we apply these lessons of sort of being okay with silence to ending a conversation? I hope this isn't just me specific. I think this is kind of universal-ish.
Yeah, I have a relative that I'm thinking of, and I feel like there have been family gatherings where they have cornered someone, and you can tell the person is tired of talking to them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people just keep saying the same thing in different ways, and it's like there is no ending to this as long as you listen to them.
Yeah.
So, I think saying like, hey, I'm going to go to the restroom, or, oh, let me go and talk to cousin so-and-so, or, oh, wait a minute, like, oh, that was such a great story. I'm going to eat a piece of cheese. Like having some go-to phrase. I love to say like, okay, hold on one second. I'll be back in a bit.
Okay, it's good to know that my technique of saying I'm going to get a drink is therapist approved. I will say this. So thank goodness for that sign off. All right, let's get into some of these listener questions. The one I want to start off with is one that I think is a very classic Thanksgiving dinner table dilemma. It's from our listener, Amy.
Hello, Modern Love. I could really use some advice. My partner and I recently visited my parents, and politics came up more than once. I have been practicing disengaging when the topic comes up. However, this time, as I sensed the conversation heating up, I decided to act like I had something I needed to do. So I got up and walked to the bedroom, leaving my boyfriend alone to face the firing squad. I could hear some of the conversation, but was doing my best to tune it out, despite my feelings of guilt in leaving my boyfriend to fend for himself. He wasn't even disagreeing with them, but they would not even stop to listen to what he had to say without interrupting him and talking over him. I felt absolutely terrible for leaving him in that situation, and I did apologize for doing that to him. This was his first time physically being involved in this situation, and he was very upset over how they treated him. He felt very unheard and even like he'd been ganged up on. I would greatly appreciate any advice you can give as to how we can keep this from happening again over the Thanksgiving holiday.
All right. Nedra, I'm curious. There's a lot there. What are your immediate reactions? What do you make of that situation from Amy?
Yeah, it seems like Amy figured out a way for herself to get out of it, but I don't think she shared that way of coping with her boyfriend. So yeah, he was stuck there. Poor guy. I think shifting the topic is really important. And when people are zealous about, a topic, they can not listen, and they just want you to hear everything they have to say. They're really not concerned about how you view the thing. They're like, no, this is it, and then this, and did you see the guy did this, and blah, blah, blah. We have to be able to shift the topic. And so sometimes I think in a very humorous way, we can, maybe hop in and say any other topics of discussion, or I have another conversation for us, or what do you think about the Detroit Lions this year? Is there something else that I could just sort of pop in when I notice that a person is staying on a topic?
It's hard to do that, isn't it, without offending someone, right? Or
they're offending you. Here's the thing. It's so shocking to me when we're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be rude. They're actually being rude. They're not listening to you. They're not allowing you to get a word in. Sometimes when you're sharing your opinion, people will say, oh, it's silly, it's stupid because da-da-da-da-da, particularly with politics. And so if you're worried about being rude, if you're worried about being mean, just remember they're already doing it.
Wow. That is a really interesting reframe. Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, I don't want to butt in. It's like you have
they're butting in.
Yeah, and then you have just as much of a right to sort of disrupt with kindness, but also, with sort of a firm approach, this conversation. And I will say this could have happened already, but Amy and her boyfriend, if they're to return, this year, should probably have a conversation, just the two of them. What would you recommend, that conversation between Amy and her boyfriend to be before they step into the family Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I think signals with couples are very important. When I go somewhere with my husband, it's like, what is the signal that it's time to leave, right? It's like double tap on my invisible watch. It's like...
Now that's pretty overt, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just tap on my watch, or I'll just stare at you for 5 seconds. I don't know, whatever your thing is, right?
Yeah.
So... just having some sort of cue, whether it's a word, is like, oh my gosh, I got to go to the car and get pineapples. Like, pineapple is the word. Whatever it is. So you all are on the same page. It could be a little hand tap on the, on the leg or something to know, like, I'm uncomfortable. This is a situation I'd like us to get out of, or I like to be removed from.
Yeah.
Because when we're taking people into situations with our families, we've built up some tolerance for it, right? Like that person who has that extremely wet kiss on the face, or the person who squeezes your hand too hard, or the person who goes on and on about all of the people they know that are dying, or, whatever the thing is. It's like, prep your people for this.
Yeah.
Like, don't just have them walk into these situations like it's normal. Like,
Totally.
It's like, yeah, I think saying like, hey, my aunt, she loves to wear red lipstick and kiss you on the cheek. You have to go in hard for the hug, or you have to accept the lipstick. Either or. Those are your options, right? Like, I don't kiss people. I only hug. You have to be ready because she's going to do it.
God, that is too relatable, the wet kiss. I mean, it is bringing up a good question and a bigger question too, I think, which is like, what responsibility do you have to someone, a partner, whatever, when you bring them home into your family? Do you have a responsibility to these people you bring into your family situations?
I say yes. Like, they are in your care. They are delicate objects. This is their first time. Like, when we're taking a friend or partner into our family situation, we have to let them know, hey, this is what typically happens. Just giving them some primers so they're not like trapped in these conversation cycles, or they're not getting like these wet kisses, or, whatever the things are. We need to allow them to be aware, and maybe they have some really good ideas about how to respond. Like, if my uncle starts talking to you about, this scam that he really believes, what would you say to him? Maybe doing some brainstorming.
No, I think that's a really good point. It's like, their perspective as a outsider could also be helpful to shedding some light to an approach, a tactic, a response that you would have never thought of because you're so sort of like immersed in the history of it. I really like that. And again, the reasons I like these tips you've outlined for Amy is, it's not about trying to get Amy's family members to change, to strong arm them into not talking about this or to changing their beliefs. It's like, it's changing how you respond to it, right? How you prepare for it, how Amy and her boyfriend are in this together. I think that's really useful. So Amy, we wish you luck. Good luck. When we come back, Nedra answers more of your questions. Stay with us. Let's go to our next voicemail. This is from a listener named Gordon.
Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday of the year, and it has been since I was very young. I have not spoken to my brother or sister in 5 years, and that all circles around sobriety. As we all know, Thanksgiving is a time to pull out the wine and good cheer and have all sorts of family discussion across the table. This year, my difficulty is that my father is 92 and not much longer for this world. Do I reconcile and go back to the chaos of the family meal and the alcohol flowing?
What do you think about Gordon's situation?
I wonder, is there an opportunity to time how long we'll be in that experience? Maybe the dinner and gathering is 4 to 5 hours, and maybe your tolerance level is about an hour. That's you being with your family in a way that you haven't been with them in the last 5 years, if that's what you can tolerate. Maybe the drinking starts after dinner. Maybe it starts before. I'm not really sure. But I think having some sort of time frame that you can allow yourself to be in that experience, or even having some opportunities to step away. So if you stay there for the 4 or 5 hours, maybe you have 10 little air breaks, right? So you go outside, you take some breaths, you walk around the block, or you listen to some music, whatever you need to do to sort of ground yourself to be in that experience. But I hear this caller saying that it's very important to be with family given that his father is aging.
Yeah.
And so how can we be with family when they are problematic? Maybe it's not in the typical way that we've done it in the past, or even in the way that they would want. How can we show up and still preserve ourselves in that experience? And so planning before is going to be really important. So if you haven't talked to your siblings in 5 years, you may not want to see them on this day and have this this is the first awkward moment of you all being together. So some sort of conversation beforehand. Hey, I know we haven't talked in a while, but I'm planning to be with you all for Thanksgiving this year. And I just want to make sure that we clear the air before we're in that space. Dad is aging, and I want to make sure that it's a really good, experience for him to see all of his children together. What sort of things do we need to talk about before that day?
Totally. Yeah. That kind of prep work. I mean, that was what I was going to say. I could imagine it would be a lot of pressure and emotional weight to see these siblings who you haven't seen for years on the day of Thanksgiving. So doing that prep work, like you're saying. I mean, and you sort of answered this, but I want to be specific about it. And just to note that I don't know if this is Gordon's exact situation, but I feel like this is pertinent. It's like, what do you do? How would you advise someone if their family drinks a lot on the holiday and they're sober? What would your tips be for that kind of situation?
Yeah, that's tough because you certainly can't make them not drink. And I think that's the solution that we want. Like, how can I make this person who drinks a lot on the holidays not drink? And we can't solve that. But what we can solve is what I mentioned. You can figure out how long you want to be a part of their drinking experience. You can bring some concoctions that don't include alcohol. They can partake if they want to, and if they don't, that's fine. You can have this, sort of leave window that when so-and-so starts to get to this point of retelling their story 10 times, I'm out of here. It's time. That's my indicator. So having a list of indicators for people, because sometimes we know when they start arguing about this story from when we were 12 years old or something, it's that's my indication to get a little to-go bag and get on out of there. Right? So having some idea of this is the situation I'm walking into, and I know it.
Yeah.
I know what the situation is. I have to have a plan that's different from what I've done in the past.
Right.
Because I'm not going to re-experience Thanksgiving 2007. We won't do that one anymore. We'll have a new experience because I'm trying to do some new things.
I really like that. A list of indicators. Maybe my final question here is if Gordon decides to go, even if he does this prep work like you're talking about, feels like he has a plan, it will undoubtedly be uncomfortable, right? Emotionally uncomfortable. How does one decide if putting yourself into an uncomfortable family situation is worth it?
I think it depends on how bad you want it, how bad you want to be with family. And I don't think myself as a therapist can determine that for a client. I can't determine that for a listener. How bad do you want to be in this experience versus how bad is the discomfort? There can be discomfort that is manageable. It's not like every social or family gathering that you go into has to be the most pleasant ever. No, maybe, you have a little anxiety in some situations. You survive it. You learn, I can survive a Thanksgiving with all my relatives drinking if I leave at this time, right? Like,
Yeah.
and maybe you can do it. It's like you have to figure out what your threshold is for the discomfort.
Yeah.
It's okay to have a little, it's okay to have a little bit of something, even if it's not anxiety, just a little concern or worry or doubt. It's okay to have that. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think, you can figure out some ways to manage that discomfort. And if you can, I think that's the indication that maybe you don't need to go because you don't have any tools to be in the space.
Figure out what your own threshold is. Do the introspection before. See what you can tolerate, because if you can tolerate it, you can prove to yourself, I can get through these hard things, and you can continue to build on that. All right, let's go to our next one. Let's hear this question from a listener named Stephanie.
This year, my husband and I will be staying home for Thanksgiving and hanging out with some of my family and friends. And that's different than what we usually do. For the better part of our nearly decade-long relationship, we have gone to Florida to visit his parents who retired there. And this past September, he tragically lost both of them within a week. His mom was kind of expected, but still surprising with the timeline. She had cancer, and his dad was completely unexpected and surprising. He's doing a great job managing and dealing with that grief and pain, but I'm anticipating Thanksgiving is going to be hard, and I want to be there to support him. So, my question is just how can I support him through a holiday that used to be one we spent with his parents and thought was one we would spend with them for many years to come, and how can we adjust to this new reality of not doing that anymore?
What would you say to this listener about this situation? We actually got several voicemails about this, recently losing someone and celebrating the holidays for the first time without them.
If we are supporting someone who's going through grief, it can be really helpful to say something like, I can imagine that Thanksgiving is going to be tough for you with the loss of your parents. What can I do to support you through that? Mm-hmm. And allowing them to tell you what they need. Holidays are tough for folks who are grieving. They don't forget about it. If anything, the grief is intensified. And so it can be really helpful for us to not try to ignore it, because sometimes people will say, I'm going to try not to think about it on Thanksgiving. I'm going to try to distract myself. When in actuality, is there some moment we can have to talk about this loved one who is no longer here this year? Maybe before dinner or after dinner, we make space for the tears. We make space to grieve grandpa. We say, this year we lost a legend and we are all sad. We deeply miss him. And so I want to give everybody an opportunity to talk about, just very briefly, if they want to say a few words about grandpa.
I really love that idea, like designating a time that's sacred and connected to sort of grieve together, right? As opposed to trying to sweep it under the rug or maybe even talking about it too much, because I think you can sort of over-index, right, on speaking about someone perhaps who's lost to the point where you're not in the moment anymore. I like that idea of designating some time.
Yeah, or is there a way to honor this person on that day? I have one of my grandmother's baking dishes, right? And so I love to, make a cake in it or even just have it out, right? Like as an experience of, wow, I love my grandmother. I miss her.
It's so interesting what you're saying. It's just striking me. My mom, every Christmas, wears this like Christmas bear sweatshirt that was my grandma's, her mom's, and does do that. She'll say to everyone, Merry Christmas, whatever, like, I am missing my mom right now. And I really appreciate it because it lets us know where she's at, and it invites us to sort of be with her and share memories of my grandma. So she's doing these things, herself. I guess a follow-up to the first thing you said, which is ask this person, what can I do to support you? What if someone was like, I don't know what you can do? How would you respond in that situation?
I think we have to get creative when people don't know what they need to be supported. So that could look like if you see them like staring off, going to give them that hug or just squeezing their hand, rubbing their back, checking in on them and saying, how are you feeling? Anything you want to talk about? Are you okay right now? Doing that. Or even saying, I know that you lost your parents. Is there anything we could do to honor them? Maybe you make your mom's mashed potato recipe. I think you could get really creative with how you incorporate them into this new experience. Maybe you get a dish from the restaurant that catered their stuff. I don't know what that looks like, but yeah, I think we're thinking about those folks, and one of the worst things we could do is try to pretend that nobody's sad about this thing. And yeah, we don't want it to overshadow the day. So maybe we do try some new things. We have to incorporate some new traditions. And thinking about what those things could look like could create a little source of joy. Like, what's this new thing we could do? In previous years, maybe we watched a football game, but can we dress up as extreme fans?
I really like that. That is really sweet. Like, inject the joy back into the day, too. Try something new. I really like dress up as extreme fans.
Yeah, I meant like paint your belly and, like do all the things.
That
I
is
don't
so
know.
sweet.
Like do something fun. But both things can exist at the same time. You can hold joy and grief. And so for some of us, it's like, if I'm grieving, that overshadows anything. I can't feel anything else. I'd be terrible if I felt anything else. I don't believe our loved ones want us to suffer because they're no longer here. So if there's an opportunity for us to plan something to look forward to on this holiday that's going to be really hard without them, please do it.
I really like that idea of painting a belly. I mean, I think that's the first time that's been recommended on the show, and I am happy for it. We'll be right back. Nedra, we only have one more question for you. This one comes from a listener named Layla.
So my family has a tradition at Thanksgiving where we sit around and go around the table before we eat and we talk about what we are thankful for. And one of the first years that I ever got to go home with my new husband and was sitting around the table, he broke into this very beautiful monologue about how he was so thankful for me because I was pregnant with our child who we had to work very hard to bring into this world through IVF. People were crying because he's basically saying how he's so thankful for me and how I'm so wonderful, and he's so thankful for our family, and he's so thankful for this baby and this life, and everybody's really emotional, and it just really was such a beautiful speech that everybody remembered. I did end up having my child, and I ended up getting hospitalized after in heart failure and came home with a newborn, basically to realize that I had been cheated on. And I did stay with him, and it's been 3.5 years now, and I've still been with him. And the thing is, I feel kind of sensitive about doing or participating in that activity now because what was said was such a lie, I don't see how you could feel those things for your partner and be so emotional and have a speech that everybody has etched into their mind, and then be asked to participate in this kind of ritual every year. So I'm kind of sensitive about it. I don't want to participate in it. And I don't really want him to participate in it, even though he may be thankful. Maybe he's thankful for a second chance. Ultimately I have accepted him back, but I don't know. There's just something I'm sensitive about. I don't want to participate in that anymore.
There's a lot there. What's your reaction to that?
It makes me think of avoiding our triggers. I've had car accidents, and the first thing that happens when a person has like a traumatic experience is avoidance. Like, how do I never drive a car again? Or how do I never drive past this place? Or how do I never, like, all of these things to avoid this discomfort. And I remember having a car accident once and being like, I'm never driving again. And it lasted about 4 days. And then I had to go to the store, right? It was like, I have to do this thing again.
Yeah.
I think sometimes what we're trying to avoid is that memory, right? Like the car, the speech, the point of the accident, whatever it is. It's like, oh my gosh, if I can avoid this thing, I will just feel better about this completely horrible experience that I had. And I think the real healing is once we can do the thing and notice that year after year, I feel better. I feel more at ease. Wow, now I can get in the car and I don't even think about that old accident. Now I can hear him speak about gratitude and I believe it again. Versus, oh no, he can't ever do that again because I'm triggered and I never want to think about what he did that year. I think this is an opportunity to practice sitting in that discomfort, particularly because she chose to stay in the marriage. This is a part of the forgiveness.
Wow.
So if you're forgiving the act, this is a part of that. And so if you can, year after year, I'm not saying this year you're going to feel too good about it, right? But if you could year after year allow him to participate, you will notice 1 year, please write me a letter about this. You will notice 1 year, I didn't even think about that. That's how it works when we actually practice, when we actually get into the stuff instead of avoiding it.
That is so interesting. And I so thought you would respond totally in the opposite way because this listener is saying, I don't want to do this. And I assumed that you'd say, well, if you don't want to do it, then, give yourself some space. But I like what I'm hearing you saying. It's like, it could be really productive to go into this ritual, to share your own gratitude and to witness, your husband also being grateful, to hold both, as we were just talking about, the sort of pain, but also the gratitude. And only in doing that will you be able to truly forgive. But I was not expecting you to say that. I appreciate that take.
Yeah, maybe her gratitude this year is, I am grateful for being able to sit through this gratitude circle.
Wow. Yeah.
That's the gratitude. Wow. I sat through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something I didn't think I would be able to do. I'm grateful I had the strength to listen to everybody talk and feel like, oh, he's coming. Oh, he's about to say something. I had the strength to tolerate my own discomfort. What a magical moment that could be.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a conversation, too, that you'd encourage Layla and her husband to have before they enter this Thanksgiving space so they can also sort of be in this together. She has the opportunity to say something just to him, not in front of the family.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I'm so happy you asked. And I wonder if, you can't tell a person what to be grateful for, but I wonder if this is an opportunity to say, leave me out of your gratitude.
Yeah.
I don't even want to be included in your gratitudes anymore.
Yeah.
Until I can learn to trust your word. Be grateful for your new plant.
Yeah.
Be grateful for, your job. Be grateful that our neighbor helps you rake the leaves. But do not include me in your gratitudes because my eyebrows will raise. So,
I wish we had a million more questions because I am seeing, shades of myself, my own experiences, people I love's experiences. Like, even though, again, these examples are so specific, I think there are a lot of more widespread resonances. And I really appreciate your tips. I think they will really resonate. So thank you for those. To sort of wrap us, If you were to assemble a kind of emotional toolkit for people ahead of, Thanksgiving, what would be in that toolkit?
1, plan your holiday experience, plan these conversations, plan the things that you want to practice and do differently before the big day. 2, make an agreement with yourself to not go into this holiday the same way that you went into the last one.
Yeah.
And 3, you get to curate your holiday experience. If you're the host, you get to do things differently this year. If you're going to someone's home, you have the opportunity to leave at a different time than you have in previous years. Maybe you go on vacation for Thanksgiving.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a friend who just goes on a trip. She's like, the hotels are cheap, whatever.
Yeah.
She's like not doing it at all. It's cool.
Yeah, so you get to curate what this experience looks like. And so that's the gift in all of this, that you get the opportunity to do something different this year. It's not last year. And so, I think you have to own your power in this experience and not give it over to other people and say like, oh my gosh, they need to do something differently this year. They may not be listening to this podcast. They may not be in therapy. They may not even be open to any of these things that we talked about. And so we have to take our holidays into our own hands. And we have to create the experience that we want to have. And we have to know thyself. And sometimes in that, we have to choose to not be a part of it or to be a part of it differently.
I'm thinking too, at the beginning of our conversation, we talked about, the patterns we fall into with our families. And I'm thinking of listeners, including certainly myself, who might be trying to break out of those patterns, perhaps even for the first time. I wonder what you'd say to people who are taking just that first step to make this Thanksgiving a little different. What are some words of hope or bravery or inspiration you have for them?
I love affirmations. I love talking to yourself as a tool to motivate yourself. I know it sounds super cheesy, but
I love it.
Go in the bathroom, give yourself a pep talk. Maybe you write down the things you say you're going to do, just like in quick little bites, maybe like a little list, like change the topic when Uncle so-and-so brings up this thing. Go for a walk in the morning, like having a plan and sticking to it. If you need an accountability partner, maybe that's another family member who's there, or maybe it's somebody who's away and you need to text and be like, I did it.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yes, I
said
love
I
that.
would change the topic, or, hey, I said I would go for a walk today and I actually did it. Find someone to support you in making these changes. Even if, it's like, hey, I'm going to make a little list of all the things I did well to share with my therapist. I love to hear those, right? It's like, hey, I have a little checklist for you. I did this, I did that, I did this, and 2 times, it's like
2 times I said, I'm going to get a drink because I'm done with this conversation.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Celebrating the things that went well, celebrating the ways that you made a change. I really like that. Nedra, I'm thankful for this conversation. Thank you for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
The Modern Love team is Amy Pearl, Christina Josa, Davis Land, Elisa Gutierrez, Emily Lang, Jen Poyant, Lynn Levy, Reva Goldberg, and Sarah Curtis. This episode was produced by Davis Land. It was edited by Lynn Levy and Jen Poyant. Our mix engineer was Efim Shapiro, and we had studio support from Isaac Jones and Maddie Masiello. Special thanks to Jancy Dunn. Original music in this episode by Alicia Baitup, Rowan Nemisto, and Dan Powell. Dan also composed our theme music. The Modern Love column is edited by Daniel Jones. Mia Lee is the editor of Modern Love Projects. If you'd like to submit an essay or a tiny love story to the New York Times, we've always got those instructions in our show notes. I'm Anna Martin. Thanks for listening, and happy Thanksgiving.